7. And I hope you're ready to go with some mobility. It's 5:34 a.m. Thursday morning. My name is Toby. We are in the middle of March. We're in the middle of March, the beginning of March, first week of March. And we are still going strong into March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, all of 2025. Let's hope so. For those of you who are watching, my name is Toby. I'm 41 years old, and I train to live an active, self-sufficient, and adventurous life. I do so by minding my sleep. I try to sleep between 7 and 9 hours in the night. Last night was 7.5 hours, but with quite a long interruption in the middle. I was woken up to put one child to sleep, then another child back to sleep. Then I was thirsty, and then I finally fell back to sleep myself. So it wasn't ideal, but it was at least sufficient in terms of hours. I also try to mind what I eat. I try to eat within my energy balance, which is about 2,200 calories for me. And I try to eat a lot of greens, lots of vegetables, lots of salads, and not that I'm vegetarian or vegan, just because I think that's an important part of a healthy and balanced calorie intake and mineral intake and fiber intake. And I try to eat about 120 to 150 grams of protein a day, so trying to hit the 1.2 to 1.6 grams per kilogram of body weight mark. Finally, I do strength training Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday with the kettlebells here. I do conditioning training, which is a mix with the kettlebells. I do mobility, which is what we're going to do today, and I go for a run every Sunday, and I actually going to start running on a weekday as well, interval sprints, to get that high intensity in together with that endurance part. I try to spend time with people I love and care about, and I do things that I enjoy, and I generally try to live a stress-free life. So that's my recipe to stay fit and healthy in my 40s and my 50s, my 60s and my 70s. And the reason why I find this so important is because I've understood that we're going to live to be 80, maybe even 90, and that should not be an impediment to be able to do the things that I want to do the way I want to do them. However, that will depend on certain lifestyle choices that we make today, that I make today, which is why I'm investing in this. I invest about 30 minutes a day in exercise, and the other 23 and a half hours a day I am dedicated to living the best life I possibly can. I also don't want to spend a lot more time exercising and working out deliberately. I do try to be active throughout the day, go for walks, take the stairs, carry things around, go for hikes, do whatever I can to be moving rather than sitting still. Second reason why I find this important is because I have 2 kids. I want to see them grow up, and I want to be an active part of their life. I want to be able to play with them on the floor. I want to be able to run around the track and field with them when they grow up or as they grow up. So these are the things that we are after and that we want to do, to set a good example for them, and to hopefully show them what life can be and what health and fitness can be as an adult. We're good just the way we are. We've got to love ourselves before we can move on. This person we are today is going to get us to where we want to be tomorrow. All right? So a bit of kindness will probably go a long way. And the only way to get anything done is by showing up and doing the work. So hit like when you join. Say hi in the chat. I'm going to hit start. And we're going to get started on some basic mobility this morning as we talk about the importance of sleep. Because we have so much ground to cover when it comes to health and fitness. The most important part is how we develop our lifestyle and how we choose to spend or invest our time in what we do with the moments where we can be active. And a part of having an active lifestyle is resting and recovering. And the thing about lifestyle coaching, supplement sales, program sales, apps, and whatnot is that the basics are very free. And we can get those basics anywhere because they've been the same pieces of advice for the last 50 years or more. All right? So, when I talk about sleep, nutrition, and movement can be just general daily activities, or exercise, or a combination of both. That's the free advice that you don't need to pay for, and everyone gives it to you. And likely, that free advice will solve 90% of the challenges you face with health and fitness today. Sleep, because there are huge benefits physically, mentally, and emotionally to sleeping well. Then eat better and smarter. Got a whole video on the foundations of that on the channel right now if you want to go check it out. It's the latest long-form video. And the impact that has on your overall health. And then we start to talk about moving. And I believe that moving should be a good mix of exercise, strength resistant training, and cardiovascular training. But there are enough studies that show that things like taking the stairs, sprinting up and down the stairs, or doing short bursts of physical activity, for example, doing 10 squats when you wake up or before you sit down can tremendously help you already. Eddie Sparetti, buenos dias. Thank you for dropping by and saying hi, and I appreciate you dropping by and saying hi, and I hope you're doing well where you are in the world, Eddie. I hope the day has treated you well, or that the day is going to treat you well, that you had a good night's of sleep, and that you're keeping well. And thanks for dropping by again and leaving a message in the chat. So just keep that in mind. All right? That's free advice, and I think you get into programs and apps and supplements because the free advice comes with one drawback, and that is that you need to show up and do the work. You need to show up for your bedtime. You need to take charge of your grocery list and your cooking skills. And you need to stop sitting so much and start moving. And when we're deconditioned, moving is a chore when we're carrying a lot of extra weight around. Moving a lot is hard. Yeah. I'm glad to hear it. I'm also doing well, thank you. Life is good today, and I am glad for it. Right, so the free advice comes with this one major drawback. You have to invest time and energy in the skills related to sleep, related to food, related to moving and exercise, to build those habits and those routines. And there are a lot of coaches and programs and apps and supplements, meal replacements that promise to give you all the benefits with very little of that effort. But here's the thing, right? You're going to have to do this for 40 years, maybe even longer, if you don't figure out a way to learn these skills so that they become habits, so they become a part of your life. It becomes very hard to implement the discipline for supplements, apps, coaching, and pre-made meals, even then. So it doesn't really matter how good the program is or what they offer. You are going to run into yourself very soon, simply because this is not something you can cheat your way out of. If you are making consistent choices that are cumulatively going to work against you in the basics, that is, you are depriving yourself of sleep regularly, you have an irregular sleep schedule, and you're not sleeping enough, your sleep hygiene is poor. If you are not mindful of how much energy you expend versus how much you consume, and you either undereat and don't have the capacity to regenerate and stay strong, or overeat and you tax your body with a surplus of weight that becomes unhealthy, which distorts processes in your business and increases the likelihood of different diseases that you can suffer from. And if you don't move sufficiently so that your body starts to lose its functionality by virtue of not using the muscles, skeletons and tendons, cardiorespiratory system, and the brain the way that it was intended, doesn't matter how much you supplement, how many meal plans you buy, how many apps you download, you're not going to get any healthier or any fitter. And you're not going to live longer free from discomfort and disease, because you're not doing the things that it requires to actually make your body and mind work for you for all those extra years. And it's cumulative, right? I mean, you might get to 90, but you might get to 90 spending thousands of dollars or euros a year on medication, medical aids, not being able to do anything yourself. being dependent on other people. And I've seen this up close. I would not want to be in that position, all right? I would not dare to find myself in a position where my ability to live comfortably depends on taking a cocktail of pills unless I absolutely had to. And there are just certain things certain choices that we can make today that'll help us. That'll help us avoid that dilemma altogether. All right, so that's just the foundation, right? It's free advice, free insights. It hasn't changed in years. It won't change for as long as we're humans. We need to sleep well, we need to eat well, we need to move well. And if we combine those three things, so we take 8 hours out of our day for rest, we dedicate time throughout the day to eat, and we find 2 to 3 hours of movement activities, of which 30 minutes could be some form of exercise. Another hour and a half could be any other kind of movement that we do, and 2 is bare minimum. Right, 4 hours a day of physical activity would be even better. And I'm not talking about intense physical activity. Just talking about moving around for 3.5 hours or not being seated. You're going to see major improvements in our general health and fitness, and also our ability. So, that being said, let's focus on sleep as the superpower that it is. All right? Because usually when we want to get fit and healthy, we decide to go for a jog, and we decide to lift some weights. But what we should decide is that we're going to become professional sleepers, because sleep is a skill, and it's a skill that we can get good at if we take it seriously, and it's going to pay itself benefits. More than we can imagine, because there are a lot of things that happen to our bodies when we sleep well, and there are a lot of things that happen in our bodies when we don't sleep well. But foundationally, you need to take it as serious as you would take a job, meaning there's a set time we show up to go to sleep. There's a set time we wake up to start the day, and ideally the time between that is anywhere between 7 and 9 hours. More sleep is better. Children sleep than 12 hours a day. A bit less than 7 might work for some people. There's like 0.1% of the gene pool that can get by on less than 5 hours of sleep or something. But the majority of us absolutely can't. But just keep in mind that you want to sleep as much as you can at to the point where you feel you've gotten sufficient sleep and you're not falling asleep behind the wheel in the afternoon, getting sick all the time, and feeling tired and lethargic all the time. All right? Right? We grow stronger when we sleep. Literally, it is the only time where we actually get stronger in strides, repairing and regenerating the damage from the day's activities, from the strains and stresses, both mentally, emotionally, and physically. We tend to have more willpower when we sleep, as in we are able to exert more control over our behaviors and over our impulses, and our overall well-being. We seem to report better overall well-being when we sleep better, all right? When we sleep sufficiently. Those are important things to keep in mind, and everything that I say will fall into one of these three categories. We're going to be growing stronger, we're going to have better willpower, and we're going to generally feel better when we sleep more. Now, why is this the case? Well, during sleep, our body regulates a large number of processes, actually, that keep us fit and healthy and capable. And it is the most regenerative phase of our 24-hour cycle. So it's important. So it's an important part of our day cycle to make sure that we find that rest when we don't. So when we suffer from a lack of sleep, first thing that we might not notice, but that does happen, is we start to suffer from low-grade inflammation. There's no reason for it, right? Inflammation is an immune response, as in, or triggers an immune response. Oh, we're sick. Something's wrong. We better go fix it. But the only thing that's happened is that we actually haven't really slept properly. So we're putting our body to work, right? Creating stress in our body, demanding that the immune system act to fix something that actually doesn't really require fixing in the first place. And that is a waste of energy, a waste of resources, and a tax on our body that we don't need, because it doesn't help our immune system fight off the threats that it should be fighting off. It's a diversion, in a way. All right? Another thing that happens is that we have this wonderful thing in our brain called the prefrontal cortex. That's where we, have impulse control, strategic thinking, planning ahead, making good decisions, you name it. All things that make us human. and that allow us to act and override our base impulses and desires. Well, if we don't sleep enough, what happens? The prefrontal cortex, first of all, becomes structurally unsound, which I find fascinating. In other words, a lack of sleep has a direct physical effect on the structure of our brain. It weakens the cohesion of the cortex. And second of all, we are not using our prefrontal cortex to the best of its ability when we don't sleep properly. So not only do we interfere with the engine's design, so to speak, but we're also putting sand in the gears and preventing it from actually working and functioning properly. Now, think of that what you may, but all of those decisions you need to make about bedtime and about food and about exercise and how you'll respond to that email, how you'll respond to an abrasive child, how you'll respond to that stranger on the street. There's a lot of work that the prefrontal cortex is doing for you. Okay? There is just such an importance of making sure that your brain, your decision-making brain, works well, because it feeds into all of the health and fitness choices and life decisions that you are making in those 16 hours that you're awake. Great. All right. Here's another one that we overlook, but that is simply a fact of sleep deprivation, and any parent of a newborn can attest to this, that the first 3 to 6 months, depending on how well the newborn sleeps, and this could last into the year or 2 years in some cases, sometimes even longer, is that when you're not sleeping, you just want to snack. We tend to prefer more fat when we're sleep deprived, more fatty foods, and we tend to overeat anywhere between 200 and 400 or 300 and 500 calories. I think someone tried to put an exact number on it at one point. And when we have, as a general health and fitness goal, to maintain a stable weight, and to remain at that weight over an extended period of time, then simply by not sleeping enough, we're making that very hard on ourselves. So 1 week of 300 to 400 extra calories is going to amount to about a kilo by the end of the month. What's that? 2 pounds. So just keep in mind that you're going to be making it harder and harder for yourself to stay healthy in the long run, simply by not sleeping sufficiently. And this is caused by different things, right? It's not just that you're more prone to give in to your impulses, probably requiring more energy to keep up your focus and concentration. And since your body didn't regenerate and repair itself well, maybe you're stocking up because you're not functioning as efficiently as you could, etc., etc. So hey, at a hormonal level, right? Because the body regulates. Oh, I see, I missed the weight. I'll be right back. The body regulates a number of other processes as well that we want to be aware of. We talk about insulin, leptin, and cortisol as examples, right? If we do not sleep well, we dysregulate our body's insulin mechanisms. It's related to how we manage blood sugar, right? We dysregulate leptin, for example, which is related to our appetite, I believe. I'll look that up because I keep saying I believe, and I want to be sure. I'll look that up after the stream, so I have an answer for you tomorrow. And cortisol, obviously, stress hormone. All very important in regulating body functions, responses, and health in life. And if they are dysregulated because we are not sleeping well. Hey there, David. Thanks for dropping by, saying hi. I'll go over and read your messages in a moment. I think I recognize your avatar in the chat from a distance. So, dysregulating those hormones is a part of a lack of sleep. No bueno, to put it mildly. All right? At the same time, when we sleep, we have this wonderful mechanisms by which our brain cells apparently shrink slightly, and liquid flushes through them, washing out all the waste that builds up throughout the day. And this is great. This is what we want. We want our body to keep our brain, as the physical brain, as healthy as we possibly can. So this is the, I think, called the glyphatic system. And the glyphatic system just ensures that we have a well-functioning brain. I've been attempting to get better at sleep, David. And how's it been working out for you? So the talk throughout the week's been paying off. I'm happy to hear that, and I hope you're doing well where you are in the world. What the big challenge has been, because there are always challenges, and believe me, it took me 6 months. And even then, there are just still 30 days out of the year, I'm sure, that sleep isn't where it's supposed to be, but that's 30 out of 365. So I'm pretty confident that overall I'm going to be getting it right most of the time. But it took me a while to figure it out. So you tell me where you're at on that journey. I'd be curious to hear. And which of the things that I discussed were most helpful and least helpful. Also interesting to know. All right, so We know that good sleep clears waste. What else does it do? Well, remember what I said about us growing stronger? I feel much better throughout the day. Yeah, very good. So you're getting the hours that you need. You're able to carve out that fixed time every day, like a regular bedtime, a regular wake time. And what's the amount? Like, is it 6, 7, 8, 9, 10? Are you one of those lucky people who gets to sleep 10 hours a day? I wish. All right, so remember what I said about growing stronger? Well, guess what? When do we produce growth hormone? When we sleep. So here's the main problem I have with just starting to exercise without actually mastering sleep. When does the effect of exercise actually take place? Is when we are sleeping. We release growth hormone. Sleep is an anabolic state. We repair our muscles while we sleep. They get bigger and they get stronger. All right? So you can train as much as you want. You can lift as heavy as you want on a day, train to failure, do the progressive overload, follow the rep and set scheme from that app. But you're not going to see any results because you're not sleeping properly. And you're not allowing your body to naturally, because this is a very natural process, repair and regenerate itself. Because what do we do when we lift weights? We damage the muscle, right? We're putting stress on it and we're telling it, get stronger, get bigger, get better at what I need you to do. So, a lack of sleep will hinder the release of growth hormone and the repair of muscles, or the building of muscles and the increase of strength. It is very straightforward and very simple, friends. All right? These are things that you need to consider. I'm aiming for 7 at the very least. Very good. And I think that's a great starting point, David. 7, and then see what works for you, right? Justin, how am I doing? I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. I hope you're doing well where you are in the world. I talked to you about sure a few days ago. He got from the gym. Where else? Hey man, I love Oreos. I had a cookie yesterday as well. Home baked though, because my wife sometimes bakes delicious cookies. And I had 2 the other day, and remember I'm still counting calories. And I asked her, so, how many calories are in a cookie? Like 110, 150? She's like, no, 250, because they're made with almond flour. So, yeah, I overshot my calorie balance slightly for that one day, but damn, those cookies were good. And I slept so much better after having them. So yeah, 100%, eat foods we enjoy once in a while, as long as we're not overeating every day and eating more of the sweets in favor of the more nutrient-rich foods. I think we're good. All right. And have a good day. Thanks for dropping by and saying hi. And I hope you're going to be well today, whatever it is that you're going to be doing. So yeah, those are all of the little insights that I think we need to have about sleep. That'll probably help us understand and make up our minds about how important sleep actually is. Now, if after all of that, you're still thinking, whatever, live while I'm alive, sleep when I'm dead, I'm fine with that. Make sure you're okay with that. And I can tell you one thing. You're going to be able to get a lot more out of the 16 hours that you're awake if you slept properly and well in the time you've allotted to sleeping. I think that's just a fact of life. There's a bit more ankle mobility. We're going to talk about making this practical. So, here's the thing about that. I know that during the day when I get a sleep dip, that I have not slept sufficiently throughout the night. So when I feel that I need to sleep in the afternoon, this is generally related to a lack of sleep accumulated over 1, 2, or 3 days. There's no other explanation I found for this. So the answer here is no, I don't take naps. I sleep my sleep at night. But I understand that if you have interrupted sleep or are not getting sufficient sleep, that naps can be useful and helpful, but a symptom of lack of sleep. They are. And if you enjoy them, no harm in them, I'm sure. But just be mindful of the cause and effect here. If we don't sleep enough, our body starts demanding more sleep, and there's no amount of coffee or energy drink that's actually going to help you recover from a lack of sleep. It's only going to make things worse. If that's an answer to your question. And I hope that was something useful in there. So how do we make this practical? Let's talk about making it practical as we do those basic core exercises at 6:16 a.m. where we look at putting our core to good use. Right, so the first thing about making this practical is that we want to see ourselves as professional sleepers, right? This quote from Brian Johnson I think it's a very good way of looking at it. There's a set time that we show up for sleep. There's a set amount of hours that we want to sleep. And we are going to act as if we're paid to do it. So we're going to do it regularly, at the same time, on the day, every day. Okay? It's an important mind shift to make when it comes to sleep. Let's start with where we sleep, because they're different. We can break down the scale of sleeping into different parts. Where we sleep, what's going on there, and then how we prepare for the sleep, how we wind down, disconnect, and make sure that our brain is ready to fall asleep from the stresses, strains, insights, information, stimulus of the day. So where we sleep, the room needs to be dark. The room needs to be quiet. The room needs to be cool. Should be a dedicated space for sleeping. Just because we want to know our brain to register, I'm in this space now. This is where I rest and go to sleep. Construction. That's a good question. I would not know because I am a desk jockey. So I cannot speak to that experience. I also don't have a lot of insight in that, but I can say that sleep depth is what triggers weariness, different parts, different times of the day. Physical activity might get you tired, right? When we go out for a hike or the whole day we're walking for 6 hours, I feel tired, but I feel ready to go to bed later. It's not like I want to shut down and sleep immediately, because I think that is a sign that we do not get enough sleep to begin with. But it could be that there's a different energy need, and sleep is sleep, right? But better to try to pack all of that sleep into one session. If that makes sense. Because I think you'll notice that the need to nap probably will dissipate. This is all core work, by the way, as we're talking about sleep. And I hope that's an answer. David, for you. Mr. White, it's been a while. Hello, thanks for dropping by, saying hi. I hope you're doing well where you are in the world. As you can see, I'm still here, still showing up and doing the work with the kettlebells. We're talking about sleep this morning. So, the place where we sleep, dedicated, dark, quiet, cool. And if it's a separate room, great. If it's the same room, try to cordon it off, just like physically, one way or another. All right. That being said, let's look at the wind down. So when we try to sleep 8 hours, we need to block 9 hours, give or take, because we need to start shutting off from the day and signaling to our brain that we want to get ready to go to sleep. Sometimes we're very tired, and that works really well. But on a regular day, want to start avoiding stimuli. So putting away our phones, not consuming new information, news, things that might stress us out. All right. I tend to set up my workout space, clean up little bits around the house so that we know that we're resetting the house, the living room, for the next day. From Mexico, very nice. I hope life in Mexico is good and is treating you well, and that you are well over there in Mexico. So, winding down, I like to read, but you could also use it as time to meditate or to do some breath work or to stretch, do some yoga, something that is low intensity and just relaxes you for the night and sends you into rest mode. Right? Those are two separate parts of the skill of sleeping and making it practical, or actually three. Setting a set time that you go to bed, that you wake up, planning time between that, setting that hour up, having that dedicated sleep space, and in that hour before we go to sleep, trying to prepare ourselves for rest by literally making sure that we are ready to go to sleep. And that's all I have for you this morning. 6:27 a.m. I'm going to make myself a cup of coffee, start preparing breakfast and other things for the family. For those of you who are watching, my name is Toby. I am 41 years old and I'm training to live an active, self-sufficient and adventurous life. I do so by minding my sleep, minding what I eat, showing up to some strength, conditioning, mobility work in very different ways. Try to spend time with people I love and care about, do things that I enjoy, generally live a stress-free life. Why? I'd like to reach 95 at full capacity, free of disease and discomfort, definitely medication, to be self-sufficient at that age, set a good example for my children as they grow up. This is about the way I feel, not about the way I look. I would like to feel fit, competent, and capable for life. So that's something you're interested in, subscribe to my channel, check out what's going on there, what I talk about, like my videos, share them with a friend, start this conversation because I think it's an important conversation to have, and we have a nice little community of people who are interested in health and fitness and kettlebells and longevity right here. You're good just the way you are. We've got to love ourselves before we can move on. It's the person we are today who's going to get us to where we want to be tomorrow. And a bit of kindness probably going to go a long way, right? There are enough people out there who want to put us down, so we'll lift ourselves and each other up here. And remember, the only way to get anything done, let me know in the chat. Thank you, Mr. White. I appreciate you saying that. And I appreciate you dropping by and saying hi in the chat, and letting me know that. The only way to get anything done, friends, is by showing up and doing the work. So, I'll see you tomorrow. Take care, friends. And if you haven't yet, subscribe.